When you think about it, access to energy is critical. Maslow's hierarchy of needs talks about food and shelter and water and all the basic fundamental principles we need to survive. But when you really think about it, if you don't have electricity, you really don't have access to energy. And if you don't have access to energy, then you can't really grow an economy. Otherwise, we're living in the Stone Ages. So, our perspective at SkyPower is that the fundamental way to address poverty is by providing energy. The beautiful part about solar energy is you don't have to wait years to upgrade grids and spend billions of dollars. You slap a solar panel on top of a rooftop, and a village can have solar energy, which translates into cooking, which translates into clean water. Through simple desalinization systems, it transfers into the ability to read at night, to grow, and to become a contributor to society. We believe at SkyPower that the current trends in the market provide an opportunity not only for the long-term growth, but for a long-term growth that's going to allow solar energy to become more affordable. Why? Because what we've seen over the last 3 years alone is a 75% drop in solar price. Some would say that has to do with the quality of the technology improving. But the fact is, it's the volume of R&D that's going into solar energy that's driving down the cost, creating competition. And as we follow the trend line, we're already past the point of no return. When I say no return, we are ambivalent to the price of oil. Solar energy is here to stay and will continue to drop precipitously in price, while simultaneously the quality of a solar panel will improve and it'll become more efficient. Whereas today in the world you have on average 16 to 17% efficient solar panels. By the year 2020, we believe you'll be north of 20%. 20% more energy translates into more energy per square meter or per square inch. And what it translates to is also a lower manufacturing cost, lower material costs. So there's nothing that can stop this trend. It is the most profitable and fastest growing industry in the world today. SkyPower focuses on new power, not replacement power. And the thesis behind that strategy is we believe simply that the people who have power today may or may not look at alternatives. The people that don't have power today don't have alternatives. So we see these markets as key markets due to the lack of electrification at their current grid. And that's as a result of problems in the past in their country, whether it's war or whether it has to do with credit or whether it has to do just basic lack of infrastructure. So by opening up these markets and being a pioneer as SkyPower is in these markets, we are taking a great chance, but we're doing it in a way that ensures long-term success. And once that market opens up, we are hopeful that competitors will come to further grow that market because, as a famous Canadian rower, Silken Lowen, said, competition brings out the best in all of us. Solar energy is very unique, and I think that really people are starting to understand it. Solar energy is the truest form of distributed energy. So the definition of an electrified village in India is one home that has one incandescent light bulb of 35. So when you look at these countries and you try to imagine what it's like to live in a village, that twilight is what you dread the most. You go into these countries and through gifting, through low-cost sales programs, whether it's leasing these kits or using cell phones to top up the kits, or using the concept of, as the large utility companies like SkyPower come into the market, we become effectively the Home Depot. Then we have a supply chain. Now the supply chain can now support giving panels to these consumers that otherwise would not be able to buy them. You ask about profitability. We look at this business as it's almost like a hotel. So imagine if you had 100 rooms at a hotel that were occupied 99% of the time. You didn't have room service. You didn't have check-ins. You didn't have check-outs. You don't have to worry about a concierge. You don't have to worry about a bell desk. You don't have a restaurant. These solar panels are put in the ground. They work for 25 years, minimal maintenance. The odd one needs to be swapped out once in a while if there's a defect or if there's a problem with it. Most of the work is cleaning. So when you look at a hotel business, a real estate business versus a solar business, it's amazing the profitability. The interannual variability of the sun is only 1 or 2%. It is predictable. Hotel occupancy is not. So I've had the privilege of being able to participate in being the strategic champion for Ban Ki-moon's Caring for Climate initiative. And we've really put ourselves deeply involved in understanding various perspectives. We see two challenges. The first, you have a challenge of disparity. Countries that are emerging, economies are emerging, because they don't have renewable energy sources today, they have no choice but to use fossil fuels to build their factories and to create their goods that they may use domestically or may export. You have countries like the countries that we're privileged to be from that already have these manufacturing facilities. So to charge a developed country a carbon tax versus a non-developed country the same carbon tax, you're actually going to stifle that economy. So our message, which we made very clear in Paris, is very different than anything we've heard from anyone else. And that is, instead of spending 100% of your time trying to figure out how to tax everybody, because taxes are viewed as bad and people will fight, whatever leader in the world allows a tax to come into place is going to have to stand up and face its constituents. And that's very difficult to do, especially in times of re-election. So I think the challenge that they need, the negotiators and the people who are really going to make this happen or not, need to recognize, first, the challenge is that they need to understand that the carrot and the stick, there's two courses of action. We believe a little bit of each is good. The carrot is, instead of just charging a tax, spend 50% of your time finding ways to energize and bring renewable energy by putting in place bonds and low-cost financing. If you get the countries to focus on fixing the problem, whilst at the same time taxing or putting a fee on those polluters and having self-regulation, because I think that's the way you have to start, is self-regulation and monitoring, then you'll have success. If you just focus on taxing, they're going to end up very disheartened in December at COP21. So unfortunately, after living on this planet for 50 years, one thing I've come to learn is there's tremendous disparity between the way governments operate and the way business operates. And thus the reason for laws that regulate businesses. That's the reason why businesses are frustrated and move to other jurisdictions. I think there's a role that government has to play in setting the policy. I believe more success is given with self-regulation. I believe that you can allow people the opportunity to be better, but you can't change people, who they are, their DNA. If I'm the CEO of a $10 billion public corporation, I have a responsibility to my shareholders, but I also have a responsibility to my family. And I want to make sure that I continue to make my company grow and grow profitably. So now I have another tax that's put on me, and all I'm doing is trying to push that off for another day, which is exactly what's happened over the last 5 years. And that's a direct result of one thing. Setting targets 10 years out, it just doesn't work. Us human beings that inhabit this planet, we're procrastinators. If you set a target 10 years out, in year 8 we'll start worrying about it, in year 9 we'll start panicking, and in year 10 chances are we'll fail, especially a target as serious as this. So we believe that annual targets that are measurable, consistent, and understood is a key to success, just like a public company. You report quarterly, you report annually. You can measure your success and tweak your strategy to ensure that you can deliver the greatest return to your shareholders. In this case, the governments of this world need to return the greatest return, the future for the children of many generations, by doing the right thing. And I believe that it has to start now.